Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences.
Get on with it.
So I'm trying something a little bit different on the channel, a little bit of alternative content for you. You may remember back in lockdown, around 2020, I did this massive series called, I think it was called Rate Your Shelf or All By My Shelf or something. And basically I went through every single shelf in my collection, here, other room and downstairs. And basically, in fact, I didn't even think I had the downstairs shelf at that point. It shows how much the collection has grown. But I went through each one and basically talked about the games. And it was a very quick series. I did one a day for the entirety of a month. It damn near killed me to do it. It was hard to keep up that momentum. But hey, we were in lockdown. It was COVID. It's not like I could do much else. So I wanted to try something similar to that. But I don't want to do that whole one a day thing because that will legitimately kill me if I try it now. So I figured what I'll do is I'll go through each shelf in my collection through this series as time goes on, you know, not like in a short while, you know, just space it out. And what I'll do is I'll talk about the games that are on that shelf, but also give an opinion as to whether these games are going to be keepers, i.e. I'm going to keep them until at the end of time at this rate, or if they're potentially culls. And when I say culls, I don't mean I'm going to sell it off the next day, you know, because the stuff that's in my collection is kind of here to stay for the most part. But I am in a situation where I'm now in a kind of one in, one out, affair with my games. That if a big game comes in and it's going to take up space on the shelf, something else has to give because I need to make room for it, and I have no intention of buying more shelves. So it's not that the game's going to get sold, but it means that it's at risk of being sold. Like, this is a game that could get replaced if I find something that will do a similar thing, tick a similar box, scratch a certain itch, but do it better.
It varies from moment to moment.
So without further ado, let's take on with the first shelf. This is downstairs, top left corner, and this is very much a Days of Wonder theme shelf. And this is kind of something I do with my shelves. They're kind of organized 90% by publisher, with a few times they're scattered around, but mostly I try to keep publishers in the similar area. So this is a Days of Wonder shelf with 4 games that I have had here, most of which for a very long time, quite a few years since their releases, but one brand new one. So why don't we try that one first, because that's pretty easy going. Heat. Yeah, you've been living in a cave if you have not heard of this game by now. This has been hyped up like crazy, it's been buzzed about, it's been getting great reviews, and to be fair, I'm one of them. I was very skeptical about this getting loads of really high reviews. I reviewed it, played it, and at first I wasn't bowled over by it. I thought like this is decent, but where is this hype coming from? The game takes a bit long with a lot of players, and it still does. It is kind of a flaw of the game, but I did, after more plays, started to see, oh yeah, I like these new modules you can throw in, and it is a nice simple game, and the solo mode in this is fantastic. Very easy to control AI cars, which means you can always play a 6-player game of this, even if you don't have 6 people. And frankly, I'd rather play this myself with 5 AI cars than play with 6 actual human players. If it's human players, I'd like to cap it at 4, really, and use 2 AI cars, because it only takes that one person who's a bit slow on the uptake in order to get this game, and to be honest, it's not like it's a complicated game, but that heat mechanic of putting the cards in your engine and taking them out again seems to trip up a few new gamers. But this is still a really cool. Vincent Dutrait's gorgeous artwork, all the 2 boards, all the pieces, a nice insert, all the cards are sleeved. It's just a fantastic production for what you get, and it's one of the best racing games out there. I mean, it deserves a lot of the awards it gets, although not all of them. You want to check out where I think it drops the ball? Go check out my recent podcast episode with the Golden Geek Awards, where this apparently won the most thematic game.
And everybody's okay with this? Did I miss something?
No way was this supposed to be the most thematic game when there was stuff like Frostpunk and Oathsworn and various other ones in the running. It's like, how? That doesn't make any sense. But I digress. But Heat, really cool game. Only got it at the end of last year. This one's a keeper for me. It's a keeper. It's going to stick around. This is definitely filling a hole with racing games where I need a nice gateway level racing game. I've already got Snowtails and I've got Downforce, although Downforce is more about the betting aspect, although I still like the racing part, and Snowtails is, just a different style of racing game. And I've still got Flamme Rouge, although hard to tell if Flamme Rouge will stay the test of time with this in the collection. We'll have to see, but this is definitely a keeper. Alright, so let's move on to Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. Now, this is a pretty oldish game, and it had a new version. I think Mojito Studios tried this big one, and I did get it on Kickstarter and sold it. because it wasn't a very good production from the hype, like the price it was asking for. It was crazy. It had all these massive plastic pieces, it had this giant box, the artwork was decent enough, and it was a decent deluxe production, but it was just too much. It made it fiddly to set up, it made it a chore to get it out of the box, it was, mass table presence, and I just kind of thought, not a big fan. And some of the rules tweaks, I was kind of like, not sure if I'm a fan of these either. So it just didn't quite work for me. It was disappointing, and I thought, you know what, this version I think was better than it, so I kept this version. However, I've not played this in a very long time, because as much as the game is simple, you're basically just getting cards with resources, and it's a bit like the Canopy game, where you've got the different columns of cards. Some are face up, some are face down, and you choose which column you want, and there may be good cards in it, there may be bad cards in it, but you got to decide which ones you want. The main thing that really draws me to this, though, is not the plastic pieces, it's the corruption mechanic. You play certain cards, and if they're more powerful, they get you corruption. It's secret, it's in your little pyramid, you can try and get rid of it during a game, but at the end of the game, whoever has the most corruption is fed to the crocodiles, and they don't score their points.
You're a monster!
I love games that do this. High Society is another great example, the auction game. If you spent the most money, you lose, and the next player wins. That mechanic is just something I adore. It's a great little hidden thing that might just trip some players up at the end of the game, and it adds a nice bit of tension. Brilliant, as long as everybody knows it's a thing. This one, however, has not been played for a while, mainly because it is still a bit of a chore to set up. I mean, for a game that's got really easy rules, I've got to deal with these paper pyramids, I've got all these cards, and, the insert's not bad. I mean, there's the tray there, but then I've got to deal with this multi-part board and these plastic pieces, and this, covering layer is a nightmare to get back in the box, because these mosaic pieces don't stay where they're meant to be. You have to line up these plastic pieces ideally, in exactly the right order, and it just makes it a pain. But I do like the game. It is nice and simple, but I have not got it to the table in a long time because of that setup and put down chore. And that's a big deal for games for me. It is good fun, and I do stand by that I think this is the better version compared to the new one. And another factor is that if I did sell this one, there's no way I'd ever get it again, because it was hard enough trying to find a copy of this when it was out of print. Trying to get it now? Pretty much impossible. However, that being said, I think this one is a potential cull. It's a potential cull, and not to say that I want to sell it anytime soon, but, if I'm not going to get it played, is there a reason for me to have it? And setup and takedown is a problem that is something I really want to try and curb from a lot of games I've got. So it's solid, I do really enjoy it, but it is a potential cull pile, although probably lower down on the cull pile. Something's going to have to come out to be similar to this before I really want to get rid of it. I think other games will go before this one, but to say it's a keeper for life, I'm not sure about that one. Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. Wish it was just called Cleopatra, frankly. Alrighty, let's look at Five Tribes. Five Tribes is a great Mancala mechanic game. So you have these squares on the in a grid, and the idea with this, in fact, I've even pimped mine up, because not only does it have the two expansions in it, Sultans and Nakala, it's also got, oh yes, Five Tribes. Folded space insert, because folded space inserts for the win, frankly. This is basically the inserts I live by. Everything in a nice, convenient boxes like that just allow for speedy setup, and this one's a very nice, simple insert. But you've essentially got these grids with the meeples on it, and you're putting these colored meeples down in order to trigger their various abilities, depending what color there are. So the board is just littered, and I've got a special bag for it here. I don't know where I got this from. I think I got this from a random artscow.com promotion they were doing in America. But yep, all these meeples all over the place. This thing is a colourful joy to behold on the board. It's a really cool puzzle and very, very enjoyable. And I have yet to try out the solo mode that I've heard for this. I don't know if I've got it in the box. I don't think I do, but there's a solo mode for this, and I've still yet to try it. Let me know in the comments if you've tried it and you can give me some insight. With this one, the problem is getting it to the table, because the expansions do add a bit of complexity to it. And as much as I love the Sultans one in particular, complexity doesn't help for teaching it to new players. The other problem is time length. This is a game which, at 2 players, which is not a count I get games to the table with very often, is fantastic. This at 2 players is brilliant. But at 3 and 4, it's diminishing returns, because the chaos factor with what's on that grid gets problematic, but also the downtime gets ridiculous, because if you get anybody remotely AP in this game, the game just grinds to a halt constantly as you're waiting for them to constantly go, well, I could do that and that would do that and that would get me this. Oh, but I'll not do that. All right, well, I could do this and that would get me that. You know, where they basically are a combination of the sloth from Zootopia and Rado. And when you get that as a combination in this game, oh god, it hurts. Here, so playing this with 4 is not something I want to do. 3 is acceptable, 2 is brilliant, but then I don't get 2s to the table. So unless that solo mode is really good, 3 is kind of the way I want to play it. But I did play this 2-player, did I do it last year? I think last year I did, yeah. I played it 2-player at Baycon and had a really good time. A really good, solid 2-player game. New friend of mine has Scythe Tribes and really enjoys it as well, so I can play it with her if need be. You know, so it's really a sound game, and probably one that I think is still a keeper, because it is just great fun. That Mancala puzzle is really engaging and really cool, and makes some really good decisions. With those genies as well, the djinns, you know, those with the special powers. I love grabbing a bunch of them. The expansions, you get another tribe. The sultans add little objectives you can complete, all really good. But man, playing this with a lot of players, it's a tough one. But there isn't really any other game that does this as well as this does. You know, because the rules themselves aren't necessarily complicated, it's just the amount of decisions and options you have that trips up a lot of people. So it's really probably one of the heaviest games that Days of Wonder have done, and kudos to them. They stepped outside of their comfort zone, and they did a sound job. It's a keeper for me. Alright, now on a similar vein, lastly, Yamatai. Yamatai is a game that is severely underrated. Not a lot of people give this one props, despite the fact that the cover is one of the most gorgeous covers I've ever seen in my life.
Ooh, you good looking. You're hot.
Okay, yes, art doesn't necessarily make the game great. What does make this game great, though, is the fact that this has probably easier rules than 5 Tribes in order to teach it, is still, like, as colourful as all get out, because the board is just absolute gorgeous board, but also with, oh god blimey, this one's clearly been set on its side a bit. This doesn't have an insert, the pieces are everywhere. Oh, this is a disaster. But I'll sort this out later. But you've got these really cool character tiles that you can grab with special abilities. Everybody's got their own, you know, different, you know, all this like coloured wooden boats that you sail around. You've got these giant pieces for palaces and that. When this gets going on the table, it is just beauty personified. It is lovely. But essentially with this one is that you are sailing these boats around the islands. And as you envelop the islands, you're putting buildings down on the islands and triggering powers and getting points. So it's very mechanical. The theme is pretty much not there. I mean, why are you sailing like different multicolored boats on it? It's another color puzzle, much like 5 Tribes. Which also means, much like 5 Tribes, colorblind people stay away. Because both of these games do not work with colorblind people. But it's again a very nice, simple game. I mean, this is the rulebook. The rulebook is literally, there's setup, there's 2 pages, there's 3rd page and game end. That's all the rules there is, and yet there's some good decisions, there's a lot of cool bonuses, there's a little bit of interaction because you are, well, indirect interaction where people are sort of getting in each other's way or nicking stuff on the islands before they can. But I love the fact that you've got all these different characters that you can use. So, you know, you can grab, you know, these to help you on, they're worth points as well, but I mean, you can double value of your prestige tokens. When opponents do this, you can take some of their stuff, you can perform more transactions. But the other thing I really like with this, I wonder if I can find an example, is these. You've got a turn order sequence where these tiles come out and they're in different orders as the game goes on, but they give you an initiative order, but they also give you a really cool bonus for the turn. The higher the initiative, which means you're going later in the round, the better the bonus. So you've got to make this cool decision every turn with, do I want to go first before another player? But then am I willing to take, or do I want a really cool bonus, you know? And that is just a really nice mechanic. Again, I would like to see this kind of initiative bonus system used in more Euro games. But nobody talks about this. Nobody. It's like just died a painful death. You know, you can't get it anymore. I'm not even sure if it's on retail anymore. But this is really cool and on par for me with 5 Tribes. I think I would give the slight edge to 5 Tribes, but this is still one that I think is great. And it's from Bruno Cafala as well. It's the same great designer doing both games. But nobody ever really talks about this one. This one for me is a keeper. I still, you know, I really need to get this to the table again, actually. I haven't played this in a long time, and that's probably going to be a recurring thing with my collection, because when you got 250 odd games, you can't exactly play them all the time. But This is one where whenever I look at it, I go, man, I'd like to get this out again. And it works with more players, better than 5 Tribes does. Because, yeah, you get a little bit of downtime at times, but this one goes at a quicker pace than 5 Tribes does when you have the 4 players in it. So this one caters for multiplayer better. So this one probably gets more plays than 5 Tribes does. And it has that advantage. But yeah, it's beautiful, it's great, it's got great little decisions, and the rule set is simple. Part of me really wants to learn this and get it to the table again. Maybe I've got time to do that before HandyCon this weekend. We shall see. But yeah, it's a keeper for me. So there you go. 4 games on my first shelf. You can see that 3 of them are definitely going to stick around for a while. 1 of them might be in danger of getting replaced. But again, like I said, these are not, right, I'm going to cull it, then everybody starts saying, can I buy it off you? That's not the case. This is just to say that if new games come in and I need to space, these are the ones that could be in danger of being replaced. Cleopatra and the Society of Architects might sit on my shelf for a long time to come. But I gotta be able to say, right, if this game comes in and it's good enough, can I replace this game? Because I'm looking around at my shelf and I can see a few examples where that would certainly be the case. But you'll have to look at more episodes to come to find out more. So that's it for me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb up this video on YouTube, but also let me know your comments about any of these games. What are your thoughts on 5 Tribes, Yamatai, Heat, and Cleopatra? You know, good and bad. I'd like to know what you have to say, particularly with the 5 Tribes solo mode. Somebody give me a heads up on that one. But until next time, you can check out more content on the channel, including the recent review I did for Revive. Big, hyped up Euro game. Did it deserve all that hype? You'll have to watch the review to find out. But until next time, remember, regardless of whether you want to keep or cull any of your games, they're still only games. Take care, and bye for now.